Snaps. Now I'm just going to go over a few finer points. Can't imagine any of you don't know how to sew on a snap, but when it comes to snaps, technically, you want the prong of the snap to face out from the body. So if the table is the person, and this is, say, a shirt, you want the prong side, rather than the rounded side, to be facing away from the skein. It's not that important, but it's good to be consistent. You know, and if we're doing something like attaching an additional train to the train of a dress, and you have to do a lot of snaps to snap down, like a lot in a row, you're going to be happier if you do all the same way than if you start mixing them up. And anyway, I have a habit. It was ingrained into me by my first boss, theater boss. Prongs out from the body, backs are snapped onto the prongs. If you do it wrong, do not undo it. Just go with it. But it's good to, I think it helps. It helps me stay organized. So if this were for, say, a shirt, you know, we don't make shirts, but let's say it's the bodice of a dress that you're going to attach a detachable strap to. You want to sew through the back of the dress, because any time that you can, any time that the stitching won't be visible, you do want to have that extra support of going through the entire garment. You know, if you're in a rush, of course, you can. Boy, this is small and far away from my face. You can, of course, you can stitch from just the top. Just make sure you're going through all the layers rather than going down and up. You know, it's faster. It can, you know, make a little bit of a pucker, but not very likely. And if it's a thin garment, you know, that's possible. If it's a thick bodice, you really probably will want to go, ouch, back to front, back to front. There's my thumbnail. Hurts a little. Am I bleeding on the garment? No. Very masochistic attitude towards needle pokes. So you can't do it that way. I know I said it was faster. It doesn't look faster, does it? Go down. Up again. I've doubled my thread. So I only need a few stitches here. This is a really small snap, so I probably only need about 3 per hole. But so see how that if you look very closely, you'd be able to see there's like a little tiny bit of buckling there. It's really not enough to get worked up about. So that's how you would do that. But say you, for whatever reason, need this. I didn't finish that. I'm not going to finish the whole thing. But say for whatever reason you need your stitches to be invisible. Say, for example, you wanted to put this snap back, front. I've never been sure. The other side of the snap. So if this is the bodice of the dress that you're sewing detachable snaps onto, if you're snapping the strap onto the bodice, you wouldn't really want there to be visible stitches on the strap. So you could sew it, I'm just going to go down to a different section here. You could sew it so that you can't see that. So you can start on the same side as the snap, only catch, you know, obviously you can't do that on something that's not multiple layers, but this is 2 layers. So it's a little fake placket. that I keep using. So I started on this side. I just cut the top layer, or, you know, because this is only 2, I'm only going to catch the top layer. But if it were multiple layers, I could catch the top couple. And stitch on that way. You know, check to make sure that you're not coming through on the other side. I like to, kind of regardless, I like to hide when I scoop from one hole to the other. Did I do it? I did. I like to hide it by stitching under. I think it just looks less messy. And so again, only catching the top layer of fabric. And then once I get around to the 4th hole in the snap, I'll just tie it off. And that way, you know, here's the snap that would be on the dress. This would be the inside of the dress, so these stitches don't matter. And it's really strong, it's really stable, you know, it's not going to just pull. And then if I wanted to snap this onto that, ta-da, can't see, well, you can see it because of the color, but you can't see anything on this that you've snapped on to it, which is great. You know, generally speaking, it's not going to be a huge deal if the stitches show because it's white on white. Although if it's a plain fabric, it will matter. So I think it's best to go ahead and do it this way. Just hide your stitches from view. I like to put all of my one sides, we'll call these backs, my backs on, for example, and then go through and mark where all of my fronts are going to need to be. I think that keeps it more certain, because even if I measure, you know, a certain distance, I could always be off. So I like to go through once I have them and just put the other side of the garment on there and then mark through the fabric where I need the fronts to go. Oh, I had another point that I've suddenly forgotten. Anyway, it's, oh, wish I could remember. Nope, I lost it. If I think of it, I'll do another little video and get it edited all together. But snaps, pretty straightforward, just some little refinement details, and you're good to go. So I was gonna say, I was talking about measuring versus placing things over each other. You know, for something like this that's so straight, you can really measure and often not have any mistakes. But at times, you know, like I was saying with the attaching the train, if you've got a curve and another curve that need to lie on top of each other, you're not really going to be able to measure. So it's best to use, you know, to do all of the halves of the snaps and then lay the other layer on top of it to get the points where you want to do all the other halves.